Happy Tuesday, everyone. I'm Chef Char Nolan, a member of the Rouxbe instructional chef team. Happy to be with you today. We've got some fun and exciting questions. So we're going to start right off with Maria because I'm thirsty and Maria's question will fit my needs today. Maria wanted to know what to serve, excuse me, if she was having a summer barbecue or summer gathering or whatever, and something that people would like. And for many, many years, I have written about the deliciousness of a shrub. A shrub, as you may know, is a vinegar-based, delicious, delicious beverage that actually began right here in Philadelphia during the Continental Congress. And it was a way of sort of cleansing your GI tract so that you would remain healthy. And it was something that George Washington drank all of the time. So I'm going to show you the easiest way to make a shrub that I think tastes rather delicious. So the base ingredient, of course, is going to be a vinegar. And I have two vinegars here. I have a cucumber lemon and I have a fig. I'm very fond of the fig vinegar, but what I have found over the years is that when you tell people that you're going to make them a shrub, first of all, the name alone might intimidate anyone a little bit. So I'm going to show you what we're going to do today. Our ingredients for this include some seltzer and includes a glass of ice. I like to reuse peanut butter jars. And this is about 2 tablespoons, and you can see the golden deliciousness of the vinegar. So it's sort of like what you did in your science class, do as you oughta, add acid to water. So first I'm going to pour some beautiful, beautiful seltzer, and then I'm going to add my vinegar. And I like to serve it with a metal straw, which also serves as a swizzle. And then the other thing you can do is I pre-froze some raspberries, and the raspberries will help to keep the beverage chilled, but also add a little bit of color so that your guests aren't quite so intimidated. And I went out to my yard this morning and picked up a little bit of some fresh mint, and I'm ready to enjoy this summer beverage. So I would say 8 ounces of a seltzer to 2 tablespoons of a delicious balsamic vinegar. Make sure that it's balsamic. However, I have also made them with, apple cider vinegar, and they taste good, but not as good as this. So there's your summer beverage to enjoy. And I also got some rosemary today because I wasn't sure what kind of direction I was going in, but you can see it looks good. It tastes delicious. It's called a shrub. Google, use your favorite kind of vinegar. These vinegars are from a vinegar shop on South 9th Street in Philadelphia. If you're a Rocky fan, you know that in Rocky 1, that's where he ran down the street, but he didn't stop at the vinegar store. So Maria, thank you for that delicious question. And now I have something to drink during today's time together. Now, I did want to say one thing. I don't know if any of you, after you have finished your Rouxbe studies, have gone on to take anything else like Blue Zones or Waste Not. But I am a nut about saving the bottoms of romaine lettuce. You can use also iceberg, but I'm not a fan of iceberg. So 10 days ago, I had 2 heads of romaine, and you can see the roots are starting. And I just keep it on my windowsill. So this is 10 days of growth, and I could easily, if I wanted to, make a salad from this. However, I'm noticing that there's some new growth at the base. And I don't plant it because the rabbits and the squirrels get to it faster than I do. So I change the water every day, keep it on the windowsill, and I can make a nice salad out of this. So if you're thinking about full food utilization or maybe something fun to do with young children, showing them how food can regrow and be repurposed is a really fun and good thing. And I will say this, that these baby romaine leaves taste so delicious. So get going on saving the bottoms of your fresh lettuce. Another reason why we should not be buying lettuce, excuse me, in plastic bags, because why do we need to do that when we can have delicious fresh food and then regrow it for our kitchens? So that's my tip for the day. So let me try this drink, by the way. It's really good. Has a nice little ting to it. So Maria, I hope you get to enjoy this and maybe make it in the near future. Now, one more thing. I was at the grocery store yesterday. I love to find new things, and I love to find new things that match the profile of how I cook and how I eat and how I teach. So this is from Muir Glen. It's an organic tomato paste. But here's the great thing. Let me get to the ingredient list. The ingredient list, organic tomato paste. There isn't any citric acid in it. And I find sometimes, even when you buy the squeeze tube of tomato paste, that it tends to lend a rather metallic taste to it, which I don't really like. The other great thing about this is that there are 50 calories in a 2 tablespoon serving, and the sodium is 45 milligrams. And if you look at some of Dr. Esselstyn's work or Rip's work, they talk about having an equal ratio of sodium to calories, and this works out perfectly. I haven't tried it yet. I will certainly let someone know how it is. And the better thing is that there's no sugar needed if you are making a basic tomato sauce. So it's made by Muir Glen, and it comes in one of those pouchy things, and it says to use before exactly on my birthday. So what could be better than that? Muir Glen, try it. If you do, let me know how you like it. Let's get into Cecilia's question, which is something I hear all of the time. People are finishing Rouxbe, and myself included. I decided that I would do pop-up dinners, which were so much fun, but also so much work. And sometimes it's very easy to become absorbed in the fun factor without embracing the reality factor of how much work goes into this and how much do you value what you do. There are a couple of scenarios here. I'm going to give you 2 of them, 2 basic ones. So, Cecilia, I don't know where this event is going to be. I don't know how many people are coming. I don't know if you're using linen on the tablecloths. I don't know if you're renting dishes. I don't know any of that. So I'm going to go basic bones here and say that whatever foods you buy, so let's say that you are planning a dinner for 10 and you spend $100 on fresh vegetables and stuff and tofu and brown rice and whatever it is you're going to make. You're going to double that. So you have $200 that you have to add to your fee. Some people pay themselves an hourly wage, but the reality is that for every hour that you have an event, it's 3 hours of planning. So if your dinner starts at 4 and ends at 6, you're actually going to be at the venue from 2 to 8. So that's 6 hours. What would you pay yourself for that? When I first began doing pop-up dinners, and remember this was 10 years ago, we charged between $45 and $65 a person. And no one seemed to squeak an eye. So I think that you have to look at your menu, at your planning, at your time, at your cost. Is there a rental fee involved for the venue? I was very fortunate because I worked with a wonderful, wonderful chef at his restaurant, and we did the pop-ups at his restaurant after closing so that we didn't have to pay a venue fee. If I were to do it today, I would probably charge anywhere between $65 and $85 a person. And I think that that's very conservative, which leads me to today, as food costs seem to change regularly, it's really important to look into efficient ways of purchasing any foods that you might need. So whether that be in bulk or sharing with a neighbor or whatever you choose to do. And I will tell you, my husband and I thought it would be the best idea to join Costco. So we joined Costco after maybe a 10-year hiatus. And we go and we've got our little card and a little map, and there are people sampling all of this food that doesn't appeal to me. And the produce room is very nice. It's loaded with beautiful organic produce. And I remembered years ago that we got beautiful tofu, and you would get like 5 bricks for $10. And I walked and hunted and walked and hunted, and then found someone in a red vest. They're the people of authority. And she said, "Oh, we don't carry that anymore. No one liked it." And I said, "Okay, thanks." And then I asked for another product that I liked, and she said, "No, we don't carry that. No one liked it either." So I'm not sure that joining a big box is actually the way to also sort of address food costs today, but keep an eye on sales. I still use coupons, and you just have to be a smart shopper. Remember that greens, grains, and legumes are still rather basically priced. And if that is the basis of your diet or menu, then I think that we're still pretty good. So I hope that helped. And if you have any questions about that, always feel free to email me at char@rouxbe.com, Char being spelled Char. All right. So Diane D has another, I think this is a great problem, Diane. At the bottom of her bag of walnuts, there's that little dust that sometimes accumulates. So what I like to do with it is just take it out and put it in a little jar or whatever, and keep it in the fridge. It makes a beautiful garnish for a salad. It makes a beautiful garnish for a savory dish. You can put it on top of a smoothie. It's the perfect texture and consistency. So use it, don't throw it out, and yay for walnuts, yay for omega-3s. All right. So Diane has another good question. She has 2 bags of cacao nibs, and she didn't tell me how much they weighed. So I'm hoping that they're not too hefty in their weight. So you mentioned smoothie. Of course, they can be a smoothie booster to add some extra antioxidants to whatever it is you choose to drink. They make a gorgeous, gorgeous garnish on a dessert or a component to a berry dessert. You can add them into baked goods. How I like to use cacao nibs is I like to use them when I cook Mexican food or any kind of specifically Central American dishes. I like to make a mole, and then I will put the cacao nibs in. They cook very well with cumin, cinnamon, garlic, etc. And when the sauce is complete, I will then throw it into the Vitamix and give it a good whir. And the cacao nibs will then become part of the sauce itself, and you won't see those nibs. So I would say to try using them in some savory dishes that might be tofu, rice, or bean based. So, also granola. If you make your own granola, it's a nice little pop. A lot of people have never had cacao nibs, so it might be a new food to them. So I think introducing it into a sauce, a savory sauce, is a very good way to do that. So good luck with your cacao nibs. I don't know how, we'll have to keep a timekeeper on those bags to see how long it takes for them to disappear in your kitchen. That was a great question. Thank you so much. All right, and we already answered Maria's question. Maria, I'm sitting here enjoying the lovely beverage. You have to admit, it looks very nice, and it definitely quenches your thirst. Okay. Next question comes from MCP, who has a question about lion's mane. So you've often heard me say that I live very near the mushroom capital of the world, which is Kennett Square, Pennsylvania, where I can get the freshest mushrooms ever. Lion's mane are a favorite. A favorite way that I like to cook them is to make them into a steak, where I would marinate them, and I would marinate them well. And then in a nonstick pan, I would put a cooking brick, and I would put it on top of the mushrooms. The cooking brick, by the way, is covered in aluminum foil. Oftentimes, I will then cover it with parchment paper so that it is totally, totally nonstick. And then I would just fry it. I've often made shakshuka with it, but I love lion mane and find them to be a delicious, delicious mushroom. And once you have sort of embraced the no oil saute method that we use in our program where you cook mushrooms without oil, you'll get to see that mushrooms without oil really have a lot of savory flavor to them. So I would go with either a steak or the shakshuka. Let me know what you decide to do. Sounds delish. And this is one other question. It goes back to what spices would taste good with a mix of black and kidney beans for a salad? Depends what you want to go. If you want to go Italian, you're going to go garlic, oregano, basil. If you're going to go, let's say you want something from Mexico, you're still going to have garlic, you're going to have cumin, cilantro, other things like that that will add the flavor. I always suggest to use a low sodium tamari since it is gluten-free and also low sodium. That would be my spend for that. I like beans just plain. I think sometimes just making a beautiful salad and adding a couple of cups of freshly cooked beans is delicious, and then let your dressing sort of be the focal point of that dish. And we have some really delicious oil-free dressings. My favorite is the Dijon vinaigrette, which will flavor anything and add so much beauty to a beautiful salad. So that would be my suggestions. So let me know how you make out with that. Oh, tonight I posted a thing because there's a great event with the Plantrition Project, and the guest speakers will be Dr. Caldwell B. Esselstyn Jr. and his son, Rip Esselstyn, author of the Engine 2 book, for many of you who go way back. And they're having a Q&A tonight, so some of you might like to tune in. The link is there. Click, save, and join tonight. I believe it starts at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And it looks like a good event. I'm going to try to tune in myself. Oh, wait, I can't. I have school tonight. Yes, I'm finishing graduate school. Isn't that amazing? So this is Andy M. Andy M. made a beautiful, delicious Thai curry, and he used eggplant, and he wasn't happy with the consistency. So the first thing I always like to ask students is, was it peeled and was it drained? Because when you drain eggplant, the same way that you do tofu, and remove any of the extra moisture, you're going to get a better product. You're going to get something that's a little bit more substantial, something that's going to really, really, I think, enhance the flavors and the texture a little bit more. So peel, and then I grew up Italian, so I'm going to tell you the trick. You slice or cube your eggplant, you stick it in a colander, you put a couple of heavy dishes on top of it, and then something heavier. Like my grandmother used an iron, and then all of the water came out, and then it was ready for the preparation. And I'm not sure how you cooked the eggplant. If you air fried it, I'm going to suggest to maybe a very light dusting of cornstarch, and that cornstarch will give it a nice chewy kind of a consistency. So let me know how you make out. It sounds like a delicious dish. Who doesn't love a Thai curry made with eggplant? Very nicely done. And Andy made some burgers, and he with a chipotle sauce. He says they tasted great. We'll take your word. But he felt that it needed a fat substitute. And what vegan ones are there? So my first question is, did you use a flax egg? You could have added some extra aquafaba from a can of beans. That would have given it a little moisture and changed the texture of it where it didn't taste so dry. In terms of there being fat substitutes, I personally cook without any added oils. So I might not be the best person, but I would definitely like to know if you used a flax egg or if you added some aquafaba to it. So they sound delicious, and I'm sure they were. This is from Melissa, who wants to know what my favorite meal is. So behind me, you'll see my rice cooker because I just finished cooking a bunch of brown rice, Lundberg brown rice, which is my favorite. And I don't know what I'm going to do with it yet, but I'm going to package it up to use for salads, to use in soups. Yeah, I still eat soups in the summer because they just taste so good. And I just mostly like homemade salads. I enjoy, the freshness of delicious produce. I enjoy being able to go to the market regularly or a local farmer's market. Salads would probably be the answer. I do eat a lot of tofu that I cook in the air fryer. And I have to say, as you know, I'm a big fan of the Rouxbe recipe for tofu, and I never ate tofu until I made that recipe 10 years ago. But one of the things that I also enjoy doing is I just love breaking the tofu into crumbles about the size of maybe that big, and then just air frying it. I might season it with some garlic powder or whatever, and keeping that on hand if I needed to have some added protein into a dish or whatever. But mostly salads. I think that's going to be the answer. And when I say salads, I don't mean like a little salad of like dainty stuff. I mean beets, peas, different types of lettuces, greens, grilled lemons on tops. Because when you grill those lemons and you squeeze that grilled juice, it adds such a delicious flavor to what you eat. So that's the answer. Let me know what your favorite one is. Okay. Hi, Mark. How are you? Hope you are well. Mark has bought some spices from Burlap and Barrel, and he's trying to wean himself off olive oil and delve into herbs to fill the flavor gap. Any less spicy suggestions? So I have to say this, that if you want to get off of the olive oil, as you put it, you've got to just jump into the no oil pool. That's the only thing I can suggest from my own experience. In terms of spices, I don't know what kinds of things that you like, and I don't have any here, but Mrs. Dash makes some really wonderful substitutes that are salt-free, that are seasoned beautifully, and are easy to get. And I use them all. And when I teach classes publicly, I go to a store called Lidl and I buy a jar for everyone in the class. And it's so funny because when people come back the next week, they're like, whoa, Chef Char, this was really good. So I think I might suggest that. And I'm not sure what you got from Burlap and Barrel. I have a whole stock of them. Personally, myself, I like garlic and I like onion and I like them fresh. And I think that you just kind of have to experiment and work with what feels best for you. So if you want to shoot me an email at char@rouxbe.com, I'm happy to send you a couple of ideas and a couple of specific links for that, because leaving oil is not easy. I understand that. And I think that cooking well with spices is the best thing that you can do for yourself. So I hope that answered your question. I love that question, by the way. This is from Anna. She's looking for a nice plant-based burger that would work on the grill. If you make them, when I make burgers, I use a cedar plank to cook them on because I have an old-fashioned charcoal grill and I use wood charcoal on it. And so that the burgers don't fall through the cracks. Sometimes I might add a little bit too much of flax egg, but I don't mind that. I enjoy that texture. But I would definitely look for some burgers that you like. I will say that commercially, there is a very delicious burger called Actual Veggies, and they are oil-free. and they taste very, very good. And if you find either the most delicious whole wheat roll, or sometimes I find making a burger using grilled portobello mushrooms, and the portobello would be your bread, that you then have a very savory and delicious burger that you're going to load up with your favorite condiments, maybe a delicious salsa or whatever, mustard, whatever you like. I think finding a delicious veggie burger is probably the first way to go. And I will say that if you go online and type in Yo Adrian Burger by Char Nolan, it's a recipe that I contributed to Engine 2 several years ago. It's a great recipe. It's got kale in it. It's got brown rice in it. It's got sunflower seeds. It's really good. And it stays up really well. So you might like to try a Yo Adrian Burger. I've lived in Philly for many, many years. So Rip thought it was only appropriate to call it a Yo Adrian Burger. All right. On a roll here. I'm thinking of brewing some kombucha. I watched the unit on this in Plant Pro course. Have you any additional tips or suggestions where to buy the SCOBY? Well, I have tried to make a kombucha, and I went to a kombucha maker who sold me a SCOBY with a jar, with a muslin lid, et cetera, et cetera. You have to pay attention to this, but to get your SCOBY, just go to a local, I don't know where you live. If you live in Philadelphia, I would send you to Baba's Bucha, and she would sell you a, I would also take a class in person. That's what I did. I found that to be most helpful. The entire process alone seemed to be, for me personally, a little overwhelming. And I thought, oh, maybe a class would be helpful. And it made it so easy. So that's my tip. Let me know how you make that. I want to hear all about your homemade kombucha, Mitch. You're on a roll here. Tony C. Hi, Tony. How are you? She's going to be selling some vegan mini cakes soon. Any tips for a successful sale besides flyers and posting on social media that would be helpful? Well, before you even set foot in your kitchen, I'm hoping that you have either insurance, food handlers insurance, and you can check with your local insurance broker or whoever is the carrier for your house or whatever, and that you also have a safe serve certification, either the manager level or the food worker level. And that when you make these, if you will be making them in a certified kitchen, will you be cooking out of a church? Have you gotten permission to cook in your own home? So those are some important things. In terms of wanting to have a successful sale, I'm thinking out loud that it's going to be under a tent of some sort. So you want to have good signage with a banner. You want to have an attractive array of goodies, excellent signage and pricing. And that's what people like best. And people also like to know that they can take whatever it is that they purchase home in a little bag or whatever, so that it gets to their home safely. I would love to know what those mini cakes are, because they certainly sound delicious. But I think having insurance and your safe serve are two very important things to also consider. So if you have any questions, feel free to email me, char@rouxbe.com. I've worked in farmers markets for many, many years and can certainly help you understand some of the acrobatics that you have to go through to get to your table. This is from Sherry. Does romaine lettuce need to be organic? This happened to have been organic, but no, it can be any kind of lettuce that you want to use. And I'm going to say that in 2.5 weeks, I'm going to have a nice, delicious salad. I'll make sure to post it on our social media. And by the way, don't forget to follow us at Rouxbe Plants or at Rouxbe. You can follow us on both. Yesterday, we posted a delicious recipe for a Blue Zones recipe that was pineapple and cucumber with a little tomato in it, and the dressing was lime juice rather, sorry. Totally delicious. The recipe is posted. You might want to try it. For those of you who have been graduated from any one of our programs and you're missing us, or you're feeling like you have a big gap of time in your day, I know that was my experience. You might want to look into some of the other programs that we have and how they might fit into your lifestyle and also your building career, because it's always nice to have different types of education in your portfolio. Oh, Patrick is so nice. Patrick put up the recipe for the Veg World magazine recipe of the Yo Adrian burger. And I'm trying to think if there is anything else. Oh, sorry about that, Patrick. Just going to refresh this. Hold on a second. There we go. All right. Sorry for the tech thing here. Okay. There we go. This is from Mark. Hi, Mark. I just bought an all-clad pan with lid on sale. That's good. To be less dependent on my ceramics non-stick, can you share any general tips on how to best use for veggies, tofu, legumes, grain dinners to maintain properly? So that's quite a transition to go from ceramic to go to stainless steel. The most important thing is to make sure that your pan is heated properly, because if you go to make something and your pan isn't heated properly, I'll use mushrooms as an example, it's going to take forever and ever and ever for that no oil saute and caramelization to occur. So, of course, you would do the mercury water bowl test. I'm guessing that this can also go in the oven. I think that it's just a matter of relearning or teaching yourself the best way to have a new product in your kitchen. I have several small stainless steel pans, which I love to use. I have to be patient with them. And the other part is their cleanup is like a whole different thing. And one of the things that I like to do is, as soon as I'm finished cooking, add some hot water and a little bit of clear distilled vinegar, because the acid from the vinegar, it won't ruin your pot, but it will help to remove any debris that might be on the pan. So make sure that you read the instructions well and refer often to the website, because there are a lot of FAQs that would also be very helpful for you. And good luck on the pan, and good luck for finding it on sale, because that's quite an achievement. This is from Heather, who wants to know what kind of greens I prefer in a salad. Well, I happen to love kale. I happen to love curly leaf kale. And the minute I walk through the door with it, I strip it, I chop it, cut it, whatever. And then I store it in a rolled up towel in a plastic bag in my refrigerator. And the only reason why I do this is because I've learned over the years that if I don't do that, that beautiful, beautiful bunch of freshly picked kale becomes a horrible, soggy mess. And then I've wasted $2 or $3 on some kale. So I love kale. I love romaine lettuce. I love spring mix. I like all kinds of greens. Sometimes I'll make a salad and use parsley, because I enjoy the flavor of parsley very, very much. So it's all about what you like and what your preferences are. And sometimes people have said to me, you're eating a parsley salad, but it's not just parsley. It's got lots of other great, delicious things in it. So, be adventurous, think outside the leaf, have fun with your food, as they say. That was a great question, Heather. Thank you. Okay, Heather, you're talking to the choir here. The Rouxbe recipe for roasting tofu, in my opinion, is the best recipe that exists in the world. And it's a traditional recipe because it's cooked in the oven. It's not air fried or barbecued or anything else like that, but it's marinated, and then it is baked in the oven where it's placed beautifully on your roasting pan in an equal array. Your oven temperature is correct. You flip it at the right point, and when it comes out, it is just beautiful and delicious. Now, I know many people who do not like tofu, and what I will do is I'll put it in the freezer for about a half an hour, and then I will get out a grater and I will hand grate it so that it comes into shreds. And I will either bake it in the oven or I'll throw it in a tomato sauce or whatever. And it comes out beautifully and delicious. So I think sometimes it's a visual thing for people, or when they hear that they're actually eating tofu, that it might not be delicious. And I'm a little fond of tofu now because, as a Philadelphian, we all know that it was Benjamin Franklin who allegedly brought tofu to Philadelphia, and he called up his friend John Bartram, and he had some soybeans, and he said, "This is like a French cheese. I think we can grow these beans and we can make this delicious French cheese." So Benjamin Franklin not only brought tofu, but he brought rhubarb and kale. So perhaps that's why there is the American Vegan Center in Old City, Philadelphia, and why Philadelphia. I think Philadelphia has a really high concentration of Rouxbe graduates, so kind of interesting. Well, it looks as though we have come to an end. I will be back next month. One last thing. I don't know if any of you have ever read this book, purchased this book, seen this book. It's the Vegetarian Flavor Bible by Karen Page and her husband, Andrew Dornberg. This book was my sort of like, it was my Chat GPT, because 10 years ago, Chat GPT didn't exist. But I used this book for so many of my assignments in terms of understanding flavors a little bit more, or when it was time to make the yaki udon, I wanted to add a sense of true authenticity to it, and I went to this book. So it was published a long time ago, maybe 212 and 13. Oh, I even forgot. Look at how lucky I am. It's autographed. So they are lovely. They do beautiful work. Follow them on social media at the Flavor Bible, but also this book is just a great reference for whatever it is that you decide to do. So on that note, I hope that everyone has a wonderful, wonderful rest of June. Still a lot more going on. And thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate it. And I want to give a shout out to Patrick, my coworker, for all of his support for today. And I hope everyone has a delicious June. Signing off from the city of brotherly love and sisterly affection, I'm Chef Char Nolan. Thanks so much for joining me today.